Hello everyone, my name is Vivek and today I'm starting a new video series about AWS Serverless. In this video series, we'll be building a backend application with the help of AWS Serverless. Our main focus will be on building application locally in our system with the help of AWS SAM. Let's start. By definition, serverless is a way of building and deploying application that does not require the use of servers. You don't have to worry about its infrastructure, scaling, and availability. Instead, cloud providers handles all this for us.
Let's discuss the difference between server approach and serverless approach with the help of an example. Let's say we are building a e-commerce website. There are three components in it. First, payment, second, shopping cart, and third one is inventory.
Let's talk about its architecture, scaling, and costing.
Serverless follows microservice architecture. In microservice architecture, we can build our application as a smaller components that can work independently. We can make them communicate with each other to work as a big application. Let's say example of e-commerce website. In this, payment, shopping cart and inventory, these are components. We can build them separately that can work independently, and we can make them communicate with each other to work as a whole. On the other hand, in a monolith architecture, we build application as a whole, one unit. All these components like payment, shopping cart and inventory are in that one component. In the case of a serverless, the cloud provider will take care about the scaling. We don't have to worry about it. When the traffic goes up, the cloud provider will increase our instances of our application. When the traffic goes down, the cloud provider will decrease the instances of our application. On the other hand, in the case of a servers, we have to do it manually with the help of a Docker, Kubernetes, load balancer, and with some other techniques. There is one more advantage of serverless in this scaling category. Since serverless follows monolith architecture and all the components can be built independently, we can also scale our components independently. Let's say one day your application needs high instances of shopping cart because the users are using your shopping cart frequently. You can scale this shopping cart component up and down and leave payment and inventory as it is. But on the other hand, in case of a server approach, you have to scale whole application up or whole application down. There is no option of just scaling up and down a single component. AWS charges us for the resources we are using. In a case of a serverless, resources are being used only if we are executing our code when someone is hitting on our API. That means it will be free of cost when no one is using our application. But in case of a server, we ask AWS for the dedicated memory and space while creating servers. That means we are constantly using AWS resources, either someone is using our application or not.
Some of the serverless providers are AWS, Google Cloud, IBM Cloud, Microsoft Azure, and Oracle.
As I mentioned above, we'll be discussing about serverless provided by AWS. You can choose any serverless provider. They will offer same functionality but with different service names. AWS provide many services for serverless framework. We'll be discussing basic yet enough services to make production ready backend application. Every application follows three-tier architecture, which is data tier, application logic tier, and presentation tier. Let's talk about data tier. Data tier corresponds to the data of the application. AWS provides us two services for that, S3 and DynamoDB. If we want to store some files like images, Excel, CSV, etc., you can use S3. If you want to store some structured data like JSON, then you should use DynamoDB. Application logic tier corresponds to the business logic of the application, and for that AWS provides us AWS Lambda service. Presentation tier corresponds to the interaction with end user, and since we are building backend application, a front-end application will be our end user, and to interact with front-end application we build APIs. For that AWS provides us API gateway for building APIs. That was all theoretical part. Let's do some practical by building our first API with AWS Lambda. Thanks for watching.